Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench. Today I'm sort of doing an unboxing but sort of not. Effectively it's a comparison, and it's a comparison of the new Airfix Spitfire Supermarine Spitfire Mk with the new Supermarine Spitfire Mk in 1/72nd scale from Airfix. Join me as I, get inside these boxes and see what really is the difference between these two very similar kits. Cool, so if you have been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I previously made a unboxing video on this Spitfire Vc and another one on this Spitfire Vc. So if you want to have a proper deep dive into what each kit contains, then please take a look at those two separate videos. Today, however, I'm going to be doing a bit of a side-by-side comparison. Naturally, these two kits are going to be different in a few regards, but what I really want to know is why did Airfix decide to make two different toolings of the same subject? So let's see if I can't try and figure out in my own head why these exist. Okay, and then when we get towards the end of the video, I'll discuss some maybe alternatives that I, if I were Airfix or a designer or a model company, perhaps would have done instead. So let's get some of these things out and take a look at them. So first up, the instructions. The instructions are going to be different because one is for a starter set and the other one is for a standard version. And because they come with different parts and things, yeah, they're going to be laid out differently. Like the starter set version has these lovely, really simple, colourful images to follow, whereas the normal Spitfire Vc, yes, it has got the paint scheme in colour and things like that, but it's a little bit sort of monochrome, and to the normal standard expected of Airfix kits, it is sort of the next level up. So I'm not really too fussed about checking the differences between those. Neither am I too interested in checking the differences between the decal sheets. As you can see, this one in my right hand is for the Spitfire in desert colours, which comes with two decal schemes and a load of common ones, and then the starter set version comes with less because it's a starter set. But they are to the same quality and made by Cartograph, so they should be really, really good to put on. So I don't have any issues with the decals. They are pretty much what you get. They're pretty much what I expected to see. So yeah, let's move on. So naturally, people are going to point out in the comments, if I don't mention it, that the Spitfire in the starter set comes with paints and glue, which the other Spitfire doesn't. And yeah, that's to be expected. It's a starter set, and that makes sense. So just as a clarification, both versions cost the same amount of money. They both cost today, when I'm making this video, £10.99. The main difference is that I think the cost is offset because this has got more parts and is supposedly more detailed and comes with two decal schemes. Whereas this one has got less parts, is less detailed, but comes with paints and glue. So those are where the two costs are balanced out. The paints and glue obviously cost money, and the extra decal scheme obviously costs money on the other one. So that's where it sort of balances out. And I think the first one I'm going to look at is the clear parts. And we've got the starter set version in my left hand and the normal version in my right hand. And straight off the bat, if we get the focus correct, you can see that the normal version comes with the option of having the canopy displayed open. So it's got a closed canopy all as one piece, and it's got the canopy in three parts to display it open, which is good. It makes sense. The starter set version, however, only comes with a closed canopy, and it's a slightly different design because it's designed to be pushed in and held in place with this lug here. So let's just look at the differences in sort of mold quality between these two parts. And if I'm brutally honest, they look identical. I would say that to save costs, they've effectively taken the design, copy and pasted, and then perhaps if they did this one first, they've just deleted that logo on the back, or if they did this one first, they've added the logo on the back. But they look to me, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree, to be identical. There doesn't seem to be any differences in dimensions or mold quality, which is good. So yeah, absolutely fine. Let's now take a look at the fuselage halves, because those are probably going to be the most similar. So what I really want to take a look at is the differences between the details of the parts. So on the top of the screen here, I've got the normal Spitfire in the desert markings, and then down here I've got the starter set version in the blue and grey, green and grey. And I think you'll notice instantly off the bat that the normal version hasn't got this top part removed, whereas the starter set has, but it does have this bottom half removed, whereas this one doesn't. So this means that the starter set version will only ever be able to do the sort of European theatre versions. This other version has been designed to allow you to have tropical filters or non-tropical filters, so it's got a bit more play with it. Also, the starter set version has got the tail wheel moulded onto it, which is absolutely fine, along with the rudder, which comes in moulded on both sides. So yeah, it's a simplified version, which makes sense. However, looking at dimensions, they look to be identical. So if we compare these two parts here, and the details are effectively identical. I can't tell any real differences between these two versions. However, there is a small detail here which is on this one, which isn't on that one, which is a bit interesting. But generally they look the same. The recessed panel lines, I would say, on the starter set version are slightly, ever so slightly deeper than the ones on the non-standard version. Sorry, no, the standard version. Getting confusing trying to compare two kits with the same thing. But yeah, no, they're basically the same. Let us now, for sanity's sake, compare the two pilots. In my left hand is the starter set pilot, and in my right hand is the normal version pilot. And I'm pretty sure when I looked at the last video, I said they were identical. And I think you'll agree with me that they are identical. They are the same. However, I think the one in the starter set version in my left hand has ever so slightly softer moulded details. The one in my right hand seems a little bit crisper. But I think my assessment previously about how they've copy and pasted to save money is accurate. So on the back, they are exactly identical. There's no change there. So up next, we've got the sprues for the wings, and I am completely confused now, and I've lost track of which one's which. The one in my right hand is the desert version, the more complicated version, because it's got a separate rudder. But I think you'll agree with me that the sprues look very, very similar. The differences are that on this version, the wings here are flipped the other way round for some reason. So they're facing the other direction. Another difference is that the starter version in my left hand has got the hole moulded in it for the display stand. But they are, if we look at them detail wise, they are identical. But just like I said previously on the other one, that the pilots, one of them was crisper than the other, I actually think the starter set in this hand has crisper detail than the more complicated version in my right hand. The details on this seem a lot softer than on here, but they are pretty much exactly the same. So again, it's a copy and paste kind of deal. I think externally these two models are going to look identical, so it just baffles me. Why did they bother to make two different versions of the kit when you're going to have two kits that look identical, and you're not really going to be able to tell whether one was a starter set and one wasn't? Now I know in this version I forgot to mention when I did my original unboxing that the clipped wings were included for a later version or a different version. I forgot to mention that, but you know, Airfix have given you the option for different variants with their more complicated version. But I just don't understand why they made two versions of the same kit, just with the same level of detail, like externally, but one is simpler to build than the other. Now, don't get me wrong, and I showed you this one in the last build as well, the last video as well. But yeah, it's probably this is the Airfix Spitfire Mark 1A, and these kits are probably going to be just as detailed or slightly better than the Spitfire Mark 1A. But I just can't get my head round why they decided to make two versions of the same kit, but one is slightly easier than the other. It would have made more sense to me, let's get rid of them, if they had done it this way round, or variation thereupon. It would have made more sense if they had done this Mark 5C as a Mark 5C, exactly as they've done it here, with all of the extra wing options and the gun options, you know, the different propeller options and things. Yeah, that makes more sense. That makes perfect sense to me. But if I've already built the starter set version, what is my incentive to go out and get the regular version? I don't necessarily want to have a fleet of loads of Mark 5C Spitfires. What would have made more sense to me is that this, I know this isn't the most recent version, there was another one, but this is the Spitfire Mark 5B from Airfix, and this is quite an old kit, and I haven't actually opened this one yet. But it would have made more sense to me for them to have retooled the Mark 5B with their current level of detail and their current level of design as the starter set version. That would have made sense to me, because then you've got a Mark 5A, which is based on the Mark 1, so it's got quite a good level of detail anyway. You would have a Mark 5B as a starter set with, you know, Mark 5B stuff, and it would have been to the standard of this kit. Then, as you progress your skills, you go and buy yourself a Mark 5C with even more detail and things. So you would have had a fleet. You would have had a 5A, 5B, 5C, all up to the current standard of Airfix kits. I personally don't understand the decision that Airfix made here. So like a year ago I said, do we not already have enough Spitfires? Do we not, you know, why do we need two Spitfires or new Spitfires? My answer would be, yeah, we probably do need a Mark 5C, but we don't need two of them. And with that, I think I've probably had enough of looking at this Spitfire Mark 5C, because believe it or not, I've actually spent most of my one day recording the videos for all of these kits. So I think it's probably time to move on with my life and not pay too much attention to it. But yeah, I do have my questions. Let me know down in the comments, do you agree with me, or do you think Airfix have made a good decision to make two kits identical? Yeah, it just baffles me, I just don't get it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, click that like button and leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I'd be interested to hear your opinion. Big shout out to my patrons and channel members over on YouTube and on Patreon. Massive thanks to these guys for the support they give the channel. And if you'd like to know more about it, take a look at the links in the description. Finally, I'd like to say a massive thank you to you for watching this one and bearing with me as I sort of rambled and ranted. It wasn't really an unboxing, it was sort of more of a one-way discussion, I suppose. But yeah, a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time. Now I need to try and figure out which ones went in which boxes.